Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is Coach Linda, and I am coming with another segment of 100 Days of Purpose. Listen, there is a quote by Bertrand Russell. I think that's a Bertrand Russell. It says, "Fear is the most or excuse me, fear is the main source of superstition and one of the main sources of cruelty. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom." And I think that we've been talking about core values. We've been talking about living a life of purpose, discovering your purpose, knowing who you are. We've been talking about setting intentions, being strategical in your life and in your planning, and how that changes every area of your life. Mostly how it changes the way you feel about yourself and the way you present yourself to the world. And so here's the deal. Here's the deal. Many of us want change, but we're afraid of it. I'm going to say that again. Many of us want change, but we're afraid of it. Many of us have these aspirations, these things that we look around at our current circumstances and situations, and we say, I want something different. I want something better. I want something more. But then when we look at what it takes to get the better, the more, um, the different, we decide that it's too hard for us. It may be worth the price, but we're not willing to pay the price. We're not willing to pay the price. We're not willing to put in the effort because of the uncertainty. And that is, my beloveds, my dear hearts, my lovelies, that is fear. And we've all had moments in our lives where fear stopped us from making a decision, from doing something that we really wanted to do. People have fear of speaking, fear of roller coasters, fear of heights, fear of being buried alive, fear of the dentist, going to the doctor, fear of getting on an airplane. We just have fears, and some of them, are most of them are psychological, right? We fear the worst. And whether that's setting up an online dating profile or stepping to someone that we are interested in and saying, "Hey, look, will you be my friend? Will you go out with me? Will you have dinner, have a drink? Can we get some coffee?" Or asking for that promotion, asking for that raise, challenging an instructor because you felt they gave you a grade that was less than the work that you actually turned in. Um, Applying for a job, buying a new car, um, buying a house. There's just so many areas that we can go into, so many examples that we can talk about. But I want you to think about a time in your life when fear stopped you in your tracks, when it kept you from doing something that you really wanted to do. And think about what thoughts ran through your head. What emotions did you experience? And more importantly, think about, had you done it, had you did the thing that you wanted to do, would your life be different today? What would be your feelings? What would be your emotions? What would be the outcome? because we all have to push through fear. I mean, I've had to push through fear. People look at me and they see what I'm doing and they're like, oh, she's Wonder Woman, or she's Supergirl, or she's, you know, this bad chick that, bad being good, that's doing all of this stuff. And she's out there, she's an extrovert, she's this, she's that, she's da 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 da. She doing too much, she not, nothing is successful, blah blah blah. I mean, there's both sides of the aisle is talking, right? So I got the people that are supportive and positive and they're with me, and then the people that are against me and sabotaging and judging and all of that. So both sides of the aisle are talking. But I've had to push through some fears to get myself to where it is, because nobody can tell me about the devastation that a mistake can make in my life more than I can, right? Nobody can say um what a bad decision can do for me. And I've made some bad decisions. I've missed out on a lot of stuff because of fear. You know, uh fear of going to college, fear of failing, fear of this, fear of that. I've experienced them all. Fear of speaking out loud. And as quiet as it's kept, I'm an introvert. So I'm a very private person. I like to stick to myself. And those that know me will say, "Yep, she really is. She'll sit in a room and she won't say nothing to nobody, right? Be in a crowded room and I'm just having a party by myself." Because that's where I'm comfortable, right? That's where I'm comfortable. But everything around me says, no, we need you to step out and be center spotlight. And that to me is exhausting. And sometimes I just need that reprieve. So don't think there's no fear involved in getting on and speaking on a daily basis, 100 days of purpose. Terrified every time I come on, whether it's live or just the audio, every time, terrified. When I go to preach, terrified. When I go to give a motivational speech, terrified. But I have to push through my fear because purpose finds a way. It finds a way. I was afraid to get my first job. I was afraid when I got my promotion that they were going to say, "Whoop, we made a mistake." When I got my raise, oops, we made a mistake. I mean, there's just so much going on. And I was the youngest in one of the companies that I worked for. I was the youngest girl at the level that I was at. I was 23 years old and I was at a very high level in the company. And there's no way I should have been there. I was not qualified for that type of position, but there I was sitting in that position and doing the work, right? But every day I was terrified, and that caused me to sabotage things. But here's what I've learned in my life, whether it was through reading books or life's experiences. Fear is only as powerful as you allow it to be. And here's the secret: fear is a good thing. It's a natural response to a real or perceived threat. Nature calls it fight or flight, right? So you're either going to fight out of fear because you want to survive, or you're going to flee out of fear because you want to survive. So it's very natural. So if we're walking by the edge of a cliff or swimming in deep water. We should have a healthy amount of fear to keep us safe, right? If I'm in fire, if I see a burning building, I should have an amount of fear to keep me safe. If I felt no fear, then I would run into that building and probably burn to death. So there are real threats and real perceived threats that fear will respond to. And that's a natural thing. And these threats, these perceived threats, have the potential to harm us if we don't listen to our fears. That's the good part of fear. And as a woman, and I'm talking to other women now, because I can't talk for a man, because I although some of my friends will say that I think like a man, I don't understand maleology, right? I Yes, I made that word up, but I do understand femaleology. So as women, as a woman, we have fears of three things. We have fear of failure, we have fear of rejection, and we have fear of criticism. Not in that order. And sometimes they spin off, the fear of failure spins off into other things. But when you really dive into it, it's really just the fear of failure. Fear of rejection can dive off into a whole lot of things, and there's a whole lot of pathology and genealogy and all kinds of scientific evidence that may contribute to that fear of rejection. However, when you drill down, it's the fear of rejection. Same with criticism. And these are very real threats and perceived threats in our lives, because they are things that might happen on a daily basis in different situations, in different circumstances. We can experience these three fears. And sometimes they don't actually have to happen to us. Just the thought that they could will cause us to be immobile. And we put much stock into how terrible failure and rejection and criticism are, that we avoid it at any risk. We avoid being criticized. We avoid being rejected. We avoid being a failure. And we will do anything. And we become people pleasers, whether you are your own woman or not. Again, I'm talking to the women, but men, hear me, because you can put it in your language, right? So whether we are our own woman or not, we can then be found doing something that compromises our core values, compromises our purpose, compromises our life, because we have decided that doing that is better than being rejected. Doing that is better than being alone. Doing that is better than having someone criticize us. Doing that is better than looking like a failure or becoming a failure. So let me give you an example. Here's what fear might look like. You decide, you know, I want to take my career into my own hands and start my own business. But you don't have clients, you don't have a building, You don't have the necessary things you need, but you want to start your own business. You may have resources, you may have influence, you may have potential. But right now, day one, you're deciding to start your own business. You don't know how you're going to make money. And then what you decide to go into business to do, you do the research and you find that there's like 100 other businesses that are doing the same thing or something very similar. And these businesses seem to be going very well. They seem to be doing a lot of business. They got hundreds, thousands of clients. They're making hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars. So then you say, well, why am I needed in this space? What makes my company needed in this space? What will make me great in this space? So you decide, I'm going to undersell the competition. I'm going to be the cheapest. And that'll attract customers. But when you get your supplies, you get your building, you hire your employees and all of that, the amount that you are charging for the services that you are providing does not cover your overhead. And you're doing this on paper because you haven't started. You're thinking about it. So you're just on paper now. And so now you're looking at this and you're saying you're looking at everything and you're saying, "Oh my, this isn't going to work. I'm going to be a failure." So you throw in the towel before you even get started and you don't start. Here's something else. Maybe that's not you. Maybe this one will resonate better with you. You go in to ask your boss for a raise, ask your friend for a favor, and basically they laugh in your face. You want that promotion. You tell your best friend, I think I'm going to go for the promotion. And they look at you and say, really? Is that really what you want to do? Because, you got to have a master's degree and all you have is a bachelor's. Or they remind you about a time that you did something and it wasn't up to par. It wasn't exactly what it needed to be because you didn't have the skill set you needed to have. Or maybe they push back and say, well, why should you get this when this person is just as good as you are? And you feel stuck. You feel like you didn't come prepared. You have nothing to say to counter what they've asked you or to counter what they've said. And so now you just feel rejected. Not only have you experienced, did they tell you about a failure that you did to lower their expectations of you, but now you just feel rejected because you've asked for something and it just doesn't seem like it's going to pan out your way. And so you tell yourself, well, you know what? I really don't need that raise. I really don't need them to do that for me. I'll figure it something out myself. Or, you know, I really didn't want to go on a date with him, or I really don't like that particular dress. Fear of rejection. I'll just wait. I'll wait till the timing is right. Now, here's one of mine because I'm an author, right? I write things. I publish a book and I get a bad review. I missed, there was a word in there that should have been my, but it was by. And I missed it. My editors missed it. And it got published and it's on there. And now this one lonely person, or maybe it's five lonely people, are picking out, the book would have been great, but it wasn't edited because there was a few errors, right? There was one error, but now there's all of a sudden a few errors. It was hard to understand her language. I didn't see where she was coming from. I have all these questions in my head that she didn't answer. And so you really want to tell your story. You want to get your message out. I really want to tell my story. I really want to get my message out. But now I'm thinking I'm not a good writer because I tried to get my message out and these five people. And it's funny to me because the negative people always leave comments. The people that think the book is great never leave comments, right? They never leave reviews. You may get a very few that will do that. And when your following is bigger, you get more good reviews. But when your following is little, it seems like the good reviews never want to leave a review for you, but the bad reviews, they want to say everything and everything, right? So when you go to look on Amazon, you see, either you have no reviews, which makes people think, people are reading the book, but they don't like the book, or, they don't like it enough to come back and talk about it, or you have these negative reviews. And one or two good reviews. But then we look at the negative. And so then it's, well, who am I to write a book? Who am I to give advice? Who am I to try to tell my story? There are people out there that have, right? And so then we have that fear of criticism. So I'm going to end with this. And then tomorrow we'll pick it back up with the cycle of fear. And there's a saying out there that I tell myself every once in a while. And the saying is, you kiss your mama with that mouth. Y'all know that saying? Have y'all heard someone say it on TV or heard someone say it in real life? You kiss your mama with that mouth. Because we say so many negative things to ourselves. We say so many negative things to other people. And it's amazing to me how one little word, because if you think about it, fear is a what if, right? And so if is the operative there. If this happens, if I do this, if, I F. The thing we have to remember is if it happens means it has not happened. Most times fear is made up out of conjecture, gesture. What's the word I'm trying to say? It's conjured up, put it that way. Fear is conjured up. And I use that word very intentionally because I want you to know that it is something that we work up in our own hearts, our own minds, our own thoughts, and our own words to ourselves. It doesn't even matter what other people say. It doesn't even matter what other people think. We conjure it up in ourselves. And I'm not talking about the good fear. I'm not talking about the fear that's going to keep you out of danger. I'm talking about the fear that's going to limit you and stop you and block you from living the life of a blessed life, living the good life, living the life you say you want to live. You say you want to do good to people. You say you want to serve people. You say you want to make a difference. How is that a threat? How is that a perceived threat? But we talk ourselves out of it because of fear. And it's always, if this happens, what if this happened? What if this happened? What if I fell off the roof? What if I walked into a tree? What if I got into a car accident? What if, the people laugh at me? What if they don't understand me? What if they don't like me? What if, if it has not happened? But we conjure up these emotions and we attach it to this situation that has not even occurred, this circumstance that may never happen. And we feel some kind of way about it. Listen, at the root of each of these fears is the fear of uncertainty, which is probably the scariest thing of all for most of us, right? We fear what we cannot see, and we fear what we do not know. Here's another key for you, and I end on this one. You don't know what you don't know. You can't fear something because you don't know. Because if you would educate yourself, that fear would dissipate, that fear would reduce, it would subside. So let's go, and tomorrow we'll finish our conversation about how to overcome fear and how to build the confidence that we need to do the things that we need to do. Do you walk into a crowded street? No, because fear tells you you might die. And that is a totally good fear. Because you see the cars whizzing by, you see the buses whizzing by. Why would you walk into that? But doing good for people, living a life of purpose, isn't walking into a crowded street with cars whizzing by. It's not jumping off a cliff. It's not running into a burdened building. It's not staring down the barrel of a gun. Those situations, fear does you a service to keep you alive. Starting a business is not a life-threatening situation. It's a situation where you need to educate yourself and remove all doubt. I am Coach Linda. This is 100 Days of Purpose. We will be back tomorrow with more on the cycle of fear. But I just want you to live the best life that you can live according to the way you were created and designed and made, because you are significant and you have purpose. You be blessed, be encouraged. Until next time, I'm Coach Linda, and I am out.